Across the nation, legal observers and concerned citizens have been closely following a case that has raised profound questions about the limits of executive power and the enforcement of judicial orders. At the center of this controversy is Judge James Bosberg, whose conduct in a recent proceeding has sparked considerable debate. The case in question involves the Trump administration's controversial deportation actions, a sequence of events that saw Venezuelan immigrants, some of whom were inaccurately labeled as gang members, despite being lawful residents with no criminal history, removed from the United States. In today's report, we examine the unfolding legal drama with an unwavering commitment to factual accuracy and judicial integrity. Judge Bosberg, a figure known for his judicial acumen, presided over the proceedings with an air of calculated determination. The case emerged from allegations that the Trump administration executed deportations without affording the affected individuals their constitutionally guaranteed due process rights. Specifically, the immigrants were reportedly placed on planes and dispatched to a detention facility in El Salvador without the requisite notice or an opportunity to contest the government's actions in court. The judge's role, as observed during the proceedings, was to ascertain accountability for these actions and to enforce compliance with his court orders. During the hearing, Judge Bosberg demonstrated his resolve by methodically questioning the representatives of the Department of Justice. His approach was characterized by a careful, incremental dissection of the facts. The judge began by reviewing a series of uncontested details that starkly contrasted with the narrative advanced by the Trump administration. He reiterated that his temporary restraining order, TRO, did not mandate the release of any alleged gang members from custody, nor did it prohibit the apprehension of such individuals by the government. Importantly, he underscored that the trial did not obstruct the administration's established procedures for deportation. This line of questioning forced the DOJ attorney, identified as Druinson, to confirm several foundational points that directly undermined the administration's broader assertions regarding the Judge Bosberg's inquiries did not merely serve to reaffirm factual discrepancies. They were designed to expose what he regarded as deceptive practices. When pressed for explanations, the judge criticized the government's representations as sketchy, suggesting that if the administration genuinely believed its actions were beyond reproach, it would have presented a more robust legal justification. His pointed remarks indicated that he was not persuaded by the explanations offered in court, particularly regarding the manner in which the deportations were executed. A pivotal moment in the proceedings involved the judge's challenge to the purported classification of flight-related information under the State Secrets Doctrine. The DOJ attorneys had contended that details, such as the exact takeoff and landing times of the deportation flights, were classified, effectively shielding the information from scrutiny. Judge Bosberg, however, contested this argument by noting that if the data in question were truly classified, it would have been treated as such by the government from the outset. His insistence on transparency called into question the legitimacy of invoking the state secrets doctrine in this instance, as no classified information should preclude a factual examination of the events. Throughout the session, Judge Bosberg exhibited a strategic patience that underscored his commitment to judicial process. His methodical approach involved probing for evidence of any failure by the Trump administration to adhere to his court orders. He explicitly demanded that the DOJ identify the specific officials responsible for neglecting to notify the pilots about the potential need to alter the flight path, a critical detail, given that some of the planes involved had not even departed the ground. Such a procedural oversight, if proven, would represent a flagrant violation of the court's directives, further compounding the administration's legal missteps. The judge's demeanor during this exchange was one of controlled exasperation. He made it clear that if a determination were made that his orders had been breached, the administration's actions would not go unpunished. His comments pointed to the possibility of initiating contempt proceedings, a measure that carries significant legal weight. In essence, contempt of court charges empower a judge to enlist an independent prosecutor to bring criminal charges against officials who have intentionally disobeyed court orders. Unlike civil contempt, which typically results in monetary sanctions designed to coerce compliance, criminal contempt can lead to incarceration. This legal mechanism, while rarely invoked, serves as a potent tool to uphold the authority of the judiciary and safeguard constitutional rights. The broader implications of these proceedings extend well beyond the immediate case. The violation of due process rights, a fundamental pillar of American constitutional law, casts a long shadow over the actions of the Trump administration. The fact that Venezuelan immigrants were summarily deported without the benefit of notice or a hearing strikes at the core of the legal protections afforded to all individuals under the U.S. Constitution. Yet, the administration's officials who orchestrated these actions are afforded the very legal safeguards they themselves have undermined. The irony is palpable. While the deported individuals were deprived of their rights, the government officials involved are guaranteed notice and an opportunity to defend their actions, potentially even through the controversial power of presidential pardons. This dynamic raises critical questions about the limits of executive power and the sanctity of judicial orders. In a precedent-setting comparison, former President Donald Trump faced contempt charges on multiple occasions in a New York state court, where he was given repeated opportunities to contest the proceedings. While those charges were of a civil nature, resulting primarily in fines, the potential for criminal contempt in this instance introduces a more severe punitive dimension. Should the judge's evidence prove conclusive, government officials may face not only fines, but also the possibility of jail time, a measure intended to reinforce the imperative that no one, regardless of rank, is above the law. Moreover, the judicial confrontation in this case could well reverberate through higher courts. If it becomes necessary for the judiciary to extend its authority to hold administration officials accountable, even in the face of potential presidential pardons, it could prompt the Supreme Court to revisit contentious issues related to presidential immunity and the scope of the pardon power. The current debate over absolute immunity, which has already generated significant controversy, might be given fresh impetus if the courts determine that a president's power to pardon cannot be wielded to shield officials who deliberately flout judicial mandates. Such a ruling would not only have immediate implications for this case, but could also reshape the broader balance of power between the executive and judicial branches. In light of these developments, it is imperative to recognize the role of Judge Bosberg as a stalwart guardian of law. His measured yet incisive approach underscores the judiciary's responsibility to ensure that government actions remain subject to legal scrutiny, and that constitutional rights are not sacrificed in the pursuit of political objectives. While his language may have been pointed, indeed, he made clear his displeasure with what he characterized as sketchy explanations. The underlying message was one of accountability and adherence to established legal principles. The unfolding legal battle serves as a stark reminder of the delicate equilibrium between executive authority and judicial oversight. It challenges the notion that power can be exercised without consequence, particularly when constitutional rights are at stake. As the case continues to develop, legal experts and the public alike will be watching closely to see whether the Trump administration will be compelled to answer for its actions. If the judge's warnings are heeded and contempt proceedings are initiated, it could mark a decisive moment in the ongoing struggle to maintain the integrity of the judicial process. In summary, the case before Judge James Bosberg is not merely about the deportation of a group of Venezuelan immigrants. It is about the fundamental principles that govern our legal system. The report today has examined how a series of unilateral actions by the Trump administration, executed without proper due process, have precipitated a stern judicial response. The judge's detailed inquiry into every facet of the administration's actions has laid bare the inconsistencies and potential violations at the heart of this matter. As the legal process advances, the potential for contempt charges looms large, serving as a powerful reminder that even the highest echelons of government must operate within the bounds of the law. This case represents a pivotal moment in the broader discourse on executive overreach and the sanctity of judicial authority. The ongoing proceedings will undoubtedly have far-reaching implications, not only for those directly involved, but also for the future interpretation of constitutional rights and executive accountability. As we continue to monitor these developments, it remains clear that the integrity of our judicial system is paramount, and any deviation from the rule of law will be met with rigorous scrutiny. The report today underscores the necessity of judicial oversight in a democracy where the rights of individuals must be defended against arbitrary governmental actions. It is a call to vigilance and a reminder that accountability is the cornerstone of a just society. As this case progresses, the eyes of the nation, and indeed the world, will remain fixed on the proceedings with the hope that justice will prevail and the sanctity of constitutional rights will be upheld.